Hello, and welcome to another episode of Recasting the Austrian Legacy League. Hopefully today the microphone works well and is loud enough for you to hear everything clearly. Today we have another 4 matches for you. And the event we will recast is the event that happened on this Friday. I think this was the 2nd of October. Yeah, the 2nd October. And yeah, so I will just do something for social media now, and we will start in about 1 minute with the first game. Hello Andy, welcome again for another Monday stream. So with social media done, we can now continue with the stream. Today we have, as I said, the day 4 event, so the 4th event of the Austrian Legacy League Season 6. Same thing as always, we will talk about each match. We will, okay, a little bit louder. Hopefully this is enough now. Is it better now? Or do I have to change something else? I think I moved the microphone a little bit closer to my head. Hopefully it is better now with that. Okay. Anything else? Or okay. So we will start with the first match of today. And here we have Michael Höller on Enchantress against Jonas Bauernfeind on Blue-Green Omnishow. About Jonas Bauernfeind, he was guest on one of our episodes of the In Response a Legacy podcast. If anyone is interested in that, please check it out. I have the links for it in the info box on my stream. And I think, if I remember correctly, Jonas is featured on episode 6 or even 7. I checked it out, but it should be episode 6. And hopefully I'm correct. He's featured on episode 7, Austrian Legacy all the way. If anybody's interested in that and hearing his opinions on Austrian Legacy, please check this episode out, or even all of the episodes. So we start off with a basic forest wild growth on the side of Michael Höller and a fetchland pass on the side of Jonas Bauernfeind. I have to admit, Enchantress is one of the decks I have no idea about. I never played it myself. I rarely see it myself, so I can't really say anything about it. Okay. What this card does, I have no idea. I think it fetches you out some enchantments. Unfortunately, I'm not able to see the card correctly, but Jonas Bauernfeind plays Fetchland Pass on his side, so we're in for on the side of Blue-Green Omnishow. It means that he has no cantrips in hand, or I think he has Brainstorm in hand, which means his hand is naturally stacked. Yeah, he has Brainstorm and how is it called? And the card lets you see the top 4 cards of your library and choose one of them. Okay, what do we see here? Okay, green Sun Zenith, most likely for an Enchantress. Yeah. And with no other land to play for Michael and no other enchantment, this should be a good game for Jonas. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. We're taking the Whale of Summer here as a win condition in hand. Repulses the card, okay, yeah. Fetch land. And maybe we see here a big Eldrazi. Yeah. Show and tell. Nothing on the side of Enchantress to do about it. Okay, it's an Omniscience, but yeah. This should most likely win him the game, and it does. Because with shared summonings, you get a Grizzlebrand and an Emrakul, and then you cast Grizzlebrand, Emrakul, and win the game on the following turn, which is a neat win condition, I have to admit. I wonder when the Omnishow decks went on to change from the traditional sideboard. There was this blue-red 5-mana insight, I think, because this would generate a win condition in itself. I wonder when the deck went away from it, but I think this happened when the deck changed completely to blue-green and away from Sneak and Show. Yeah, I think you bought in the Return to Nature. I think these 4 cyber cards are okay, but I have to admit I have no idea what to board out on the side of Omnishow. I think the Whale of Summers are free to sideboard out because the protection doesn't mean anything, or it won't be countered, because the only thing you care about is that your spells get through, and on the side of Enchantress there are no. Okay, this was great on the side of Jonas, so I have to. Okay, so we boarded out 3 Veil of Summers and 1 Icewind Turtle. Good boarding, because I think these cards doesn't matter in this matchup. Okay, and he even shows us the boarded in cards, which is a Force of Negation, a Spell Pierce, Force of Negation, Spell Pierce, Return to Nature, and Echoing Truth. Yeah, I kind of agree with this boarding. Okay. Okay, on the side of Enchantress we have 2 Archons boarded in. Okay. Fair enough. Because I have no idea how Enchantress plays out. I think with having a good beater, in this case in Archon, is valuable, especially when you can name I think you have to name sorcery with the arcane, because you put in with sneak and show, and if Jonas is playing his omniscience, you can negate the shared summons, etc. But maybe you have to name creatures, because the only way for Jonas to win the game is with creatures. But the problem is that you have to play safe around some remove spells on the side of Echoing Truth or something like that. So with game number 2 on the line, with a few lands. I think quite the Spell Pierce, which is good on the side of Jonas. The problem is for Mikkel that I think he had no forest in hand, which meant that he couldn't play this hand. Otherwise, this hand was great. A lot of early acceleration. The Carrick has to answer the legendary creatures. So it was nice, but unfortunately he was not able to keep the hand because of the missing basic land. Okay. Yeah, here he has at least on thin ice, which is good because Omnishow isn't running any wasteland, which means that his dual land is safe, his Savannah. But I think you have to put away the Rest in Peace, because the Rest in Peace doesn't matter in this matchup. You get then your Utopia Sprawl, most likely for green. Three mana. Okay. As it is counters, it doesn't matter what this card does. I have to admit I have no idea. Maybe someone in the chat can help me out what this card was. Okay, another land on the side of Jonas. Yeah. And I do nothing, unfortunately, on the side of Michael. Then we get a beautiful brainstorm into a show and tell. Which means that Jonas has most likely the combo now in hand. Yeah. He has Omniscience in hand. I think you just draw your card, play the show and tell, play the Omniscience. Okay. They're on thin ice. Okay, he is playing Fireman's Foresight. So it's still in the deck. So you now get a 1 CMC sorcery, a 2 CMC sorcery, and a 3 CMC sorcery, if I remember correctly. Or is it asking for an insight? I'm not completely sure. But at least it means that he has to target basic as no covered basic. But unfortunately that there is no legal target. It will stick around and doesn't get rid of anything. So he's getting Ponder, Impulse and Cunning Wish, and with that he will win the game. Because he Cunning wishes for a shared summoning, then build shared summon, both an Emrakul and a Grizzlebrand, and with that, he will win the game again on the next turn. And with that, we have a very, 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 very quick round 1, which lasted for about incomplete 14 turns, because Jonas won every time on his turn 4, which was the first extra turn he gained of the Miracle. So great game. Great games for Jonas. And unfortunately, Michael was not able to showcase the power of Enchantress in any fair matchup, and unfortunately lost to the combo deck every time on turn 3. And hello friends, welcome to the chat, and please enjoy some legacy content. Hello Alex, welcome to the chat too. I think we can now skip the chatter and move up to the next round. Unfortunately, this one was very, very quick. Okay. And now we have the second match of today. We have David Binder on lands against Christoph Igelsbach on Blue-Red Delva. It's a really, really hard matchup, but if I remember correctly, it's favored to the lands players, even though Blue-Red has now a few possibilities to draw out, but Marit Large is still not really beatable for Delva. Okay. So I missed the cards now for David. He kept the 7 land hand. Okay. That's weird. He has... Thanks RK95 for your following. Okay. We have to get this one here. Okay. So we have an opening hand of Rishadan Port, Wasteland, Mox Diamond, Sylvan Land. How is it called? Exploration, Life from the Loam, Lightning Bolt, and Crop Rotation. I think it's a keepable hand in this matchup, especially if David goes first. If he goes second, this hand could go very, very bad. But let's see. And I think Christoph goes first, because he shuffled the hand away. Okay, unfortunately another mulligan on the side of Christoph. So we have to see how this goes. And hello Dominic. Does David make a lot of mistakes in this game, or are the mistakes on both sides? I mean, I hope that I spot them, but we have to see. Okay, at least one. It's not good, but could be worse. Okay. Okay, he puts away a Force of Will and another card. Unfortunately, I'm not able to see them. And okay. But here we see it. We have Wasteland, Sprite Dragon, Force of Will, Ponder, Force of Negation, which is hello Gino. Which is a okay hand, but if he misses the the blue source on turn 1, it could go very, 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 very wrong. Okay. Definitely the right play on the side of Christoph. Force of negation on the left from the loam, which means the engine is now down. Unfortunately, no. Unfortunately, no blue source for him. A little bit of a misplay on the side of Christoph. I think if you wasteland, you have to do it in your own turn. But yeah, here David gets his second land, which means he can do something, because now he has the colored land, colored mana sources, and with a bolt in hand, it should go. I think here we have the mistake Dominic was waiting for, because David untapped his Mox Diamond again, which is not true. But I think you have to just pass here, because I mean, it doesn't matter what you do, because the Rishon board doesn't do anything, because Christoph has no lands anyway. Yeah. Thanks for pointing it out. The Mox should be tapped, for sure. Either the Mox should be tapped, or the Wasteland was in the last turn. But I think it won't really matter. Hopefully. Yeah, the problem now with how David played it, with getting the fetch land. Okay, you now have the Vespin stage. Okay, that's great. This will get forced on the side of Christoph, which is okay. So, Vespin stage counted, or that now counts as a Schaden port. And yeah. Now David has to wait for win condition, while Christoph just waits for his land. Yeah, it's the problem is that I mean, the advantage part should be right in the middle for now, but yeah, it's really, really hard, because the problem is that there are outs for David, but it's a little bit problematic, because how do you say it? Because there is the problem that he has no he has no cantrips in his deck. With that, it will be highly unlikely for him to get to his combo pieces. Now we have a natural flip Delva on side of Christoph, which means a fast clock. And David's now down to 16. The life from the loam is great, because you really want your colored mana sources. Let's see if he has another Force of Will in his graveyard, in his hand. But I think this should go through. But what we see is another Delver in hand. So David has to search for some removal spells now, for some punishing fights and stuff like that. And we have another fetch land on the side of Christoph. Which is, yeah, could go problematic now. But I think in the spot you have to fetch for another tiger or stuff like that, because you really want to get rid of these 3 damage now. And as we've seen, there is no or nothing to change that on the side of Christoph in his hand, with I think Ponder. I don't remember the other cards, because the Delver was played now. He has another land drawn for this turn. Okay, Ponder Preordain Lightning Bolt in the hand of Christoph. Okay, Sylvan Library Milled. I think you can tap the Wasteland, because the Wasteland doesn't change anything. Okay, the question is now if the field can 1, 2, 3, because we only have 3 different lands in play, and Field of the Dead would be only the 4th. This is the 4th, and if you get Field of the Dead, it would be the 5th. I think what we could do is Vespin stage the fetch land, and with that we would generate another unique land drop. But yeah, Iggy scoops the game up, and yeah, that means David Binder is 1 up against Christoph Iggisberg. And I wouldn't mind if Iggy is drinking beer. And fun fact about Iggy, not really fun fact, but he went, I think, to the semifinals in Prague 2018, if I remember correctly, and there he was playing how's it called, Eldrazi Stampede. Okay, let's see what he boards out. I think boards would make eventually sense, but sometimes you really want the additional reach against the slower decks, because sometimes, or at least that was the problem with Delver for a long time, is that if you are getting behind on the board, you have no real way to close out the match, because you only have, you only have your bolts in the rack or in blue-red Delver to close on the game if your opponent is at 6-1 life. And in back Delver you don't have the possibility to, you have to generate card and board advantage now that you can close out the game. And this is sometimes a little bit struggling against the slower decks. Okay, Christoph gets rid of Force of Wills, 2 Force of Will and 4 days, and boards in Surgical, Sulfuric Vortex, Submerge, and I do not see the 6th card on the bottom side, unfortunately. Should be a Braid if you remember correctly. I think so, Chino. But I will Google up Thespian stage on my second monitor. Okay, we get boarded in Pyroblast, Elemental Blast, Clothis, 2 Chokes, 2 Force of Vigor, and a Chandra Wignifer on the side of David Binder, which is really anti-blue. And I think that it gets a name. Maybe we have to ask Jonas on another Friday. But I think it should be the other land now, because it's a copy of the card, but it has the ability to copy another card. So if you copy something, the name gets changed to it. So it is, for Field of the Dead, the other card. Yeah. Daniel, Flying Delver in the chat, said it exactly like that. I think so, yes. It will turn into a copy with the same name, just with the effect of Thespian stage added to it. And that's how Thespian stage is worded. Yeah. I mean, for Dark Depths, it's exactly the same. If it wouldn't copy the name of the card, there would be that we have now Dark Depths with 10 stacks still on it and 1 with 0, and it would be another card because it's not called Thespian stage. And it copies everything, because if you wasteland a Thespian stage, and you can copy with this Thespian stage a basic land, the wasteland fizzles now, and the wasteland is just dead and not the Thespian stage, because you copied a basic forest or something like that. So we have, I think, a mulligan on the side of David. And yeah, at least we have not another mulligan down to a suboptimal 5. I mean, 5 card hands are always suboptimal, but yeah, not that bad, I would say. Yeah. Snow-covered Island Ponder, the classic snow co-imitation of the Delver deck. Yeah, with now Delver in hand, it's getting a lot better. Yeah, this is just a way better strat for both players. Let's see what David can do on the next turn. Because unfortunately for Christoph, he has no red source to even cast the Dreaded Arcanist, and now has, maybe he plays just the Delver, or he petty theft the Mox Diamond, which would be, I think, a okay play in spot. Okay, he petty thefts the Elvish Reclaimer, which doesn't solve anything for him. Yeah, and I think in this spot you just slam the Clothis. And David disagrees now. The problem you have now is that you still can't play around days, because Christoph has the Wasteland, and if he is using yeah, and I think he will just Wasteland him out of the game. I think you double Wasteland this spot. It's just too good. I mean, the one thing is that now ever should claim it would be out of bolt range, because there are 3 creatures in the graveyard of David. So maybe it would be wrong, but Yeah. And if he is now allowed to play Clovis in today's, I think this should be good for David. And he doesn't play it. I mean, that means he has wasteland protection now with the Reclaimer. But it allows for way too many things on the side of Christoph. I mean, with a clean answer to Agnes, it seems a little bit better. But it's... yeah, it's not good. And now I think you just slam the Dark Depths. That means it's a little bit hard for Christoph now to play around it. Because you always can press the go button. But even that wouldn't matter. Because even Waste and Surgical wouldn't get rid of it because of the Dreaded Arcanist, as long as this one stays on the battlefield. But the advantage is very, very high on the side of David for now. Okay. I wonder for what cards he's playing the Force of Vigor. So he has land, Surgical, Force of Negation, okay. I mean, the Red Elemental Blast doesn't solve anything. Because if I remember correctly, David is on a Oko-less lands list. And with that, Red Element Blast is a very, very dead card against him. The question is now how he handles this situation. But I think there is now the point where you just have to try something. Okay, so he got rid of at least one. Okay, he even got rid of both parts of the combo, but now the Elvish Reclaim is a 3/4, which means he is out of the Chain Lightning range. And with now one card in hand, you just slam Clovis and win the game in this way, I think. And you have so many outs against the single Delver on the field. The only problem that you can face is that you draw a lot of dead cards now, or hard to cast cards now with the second Wasteland. But now I think the Reclaimer with only 2 lands in graveyard will die. The Delver will get in for 1. And yeah, we'll see a Clovis and most likely see a Clovis winning the game. Yeah. Land Clovis should win the game now. I mean, the cards Christoph draws are really, really good. I have to admit that. But let's see if he will be able to go with top of Clovis. And is this a red elemental blast or is this? Okay, no, it's another growth the burn villas. He got rid of instant sorcery. Unfortunately, we are not able to see these on the side of Christoph because it's placing them outside his playmat. Yeah, he gets rid of the volcanic, which means that Christoph is not able to play the brazen borer. Okay. Now we get the Delver to flip. And hopefully we'll see battle of winning the game from both opponents. Yeah. Let's see what the Ponder does. It will definitely empower the Pyromancer. And I think you want to draw the bolt because it means a lot faster threat. But yeah, Christoph disagrees with that one because if you bolt on this turn, you have now 7 power on board, which will win in. If you count in the brazen borer, which he would be able to cast the next turn. So this would have been, I think, 3-turn Glock, which should be enough against lands, because he's far from completing the combo or anything. So I think the correct play would be to just take the bolt man, get token, and yeah, win the game with the brazen borer on the 3rd turn. Now I just accept that you have to draw something good. At least you draw the fire islet. And for all the viewers now, the brazen borer is in the exile, not on the battlefield. I kind of disagree with not cracking fiery islet on your own turn, but if he's playing the brazen borer, it should be fine. Okay, he does that, which means the clock stays roughly the same. So I think you're just going with all, going for 8, 11. Did I miscount? For 9, I'm sorry. Yeah, and the Ghost Quarter does nothing in this spot. Which means we will go to a 1-1 in this round. Most likely. So the Fairy Islet gets sacked. We drew another thing, and yeah. Just get in this turn and win the game, I would say. Yeah, Iggy, you have 9 power on board, which should most likely win you the game. There is no red elemental blast changing that. There is nothing changing that. So we go 1-1 in this matchup, and we will see another match of these two playing against each other. for anyone viewing the stream, do we have any picture problems with stuttering in the stream or something like that? Or does the stream run fluently? Because I think last time a few friends of mine had the problem that the stream doesn't went that fluently, and I do not know if the problem is on my side or their side of the network. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I just opened the stream on my second screen. For me, it doesn't stutter in the stream, so most likely should be on your side of the network, Daniel. But yeah, it makes the viewing experience really, really bad. Unfortunately, Mulligan on the side of David, now in match 3. Okay. Have you tried tuning it down the stream? That you view it at 480 pixels or something like that? Okay, so the Twitch stream does only allow you the one stream or the one pixel the single one quality that I choose to provide you. Yeah, it's really problematic if this keeps happening, because I want to have a I want to have a fluent stream, but if this keeps happening, this is not good. So maybe I have to write to Streamlabs UBS or something like that, because this can't be, because the internet connection I'm using should be enough, because I'm currently at 10 Mbits upload, which is normally enough. Do we get the fetch on the side of Christoph? I think so. Yeah. Fetching for another base. Oh. Basing for duels. Yeah. The restriction in the mana costs nowadays with having a lot of red cards now means that you need the duel at some point in the game. I think unfortunately it was not a Scalding Ton which he was having, which meant that he was not able to get the basic mountain in his deck. There's now the discussion playing, I think, Choke or playing the Wasteland, but David goes for the Choke. Yeah. First pitch submerge, I think. Or, I mean, you can go for the ponder. I think there is no downside on this. Yeah. And now the Arcanist is unlocked. Yeah, you even have now 2 outs for the opposing Maverick large. And now you can just slam thread into thread into thread, which is great. Yeah, get to experience ponder. I think it take the second thread. Okay, he even plays another Dreaded Arcanist. Fine. And now the hand of David is dead. And that's the problem for me nowadays with the Delver decks. If we would talk last year, I would say last year, or at the end of 2018, early 2019, if someone says, what are the best cards against the Delver deck? It would definitely be Red Elemental Blast and Pyroblast. But nowadays, with way too many threats, are able to withstand a Red Elemental Blast or a Pyroblast. Because, yeah. He now recognized that it is, in fact, a better card than he was using it. But, yeah. As I said, if we would talk a year ago or 2 years ago, Pyroblast would be way better against Blue-Red Delver. Because now the Dreaded Arcanist, the best threat is in the mid to late game, is just not pyroblastable. I mean, the young Pyromancer was not able to Pyroblast in itself, but the problem is that Arcanist can swing the game from being empty-handed into winning the game, and that was not possible for the Pyromancer. As a Pyromancer player, you have to you have to draw more cards that it gains more power. But the problem with Arcanist is if it comes down and everything is in the graveyard in mid game, then it's really, really easy for cards to pull through. And here we see exactly that. Arcanist comes through, is allowed to attack for 3 times, and yeah, no chance. I mean, the Bryce Progress in the hand is pretty much dead, but yeah. Christoph will finish the game most likely this or next turn. And it doesn't even matter if David would resolve a choke or something like that, because it's just not enough, because you don't need any mana if you have Arcanists available. And Christoph has at least 1 red source and a second red source if he will fetch with the Pollute Delta, and with that he would be able to get another Volcanic Island, and with that he can cast at least 4 lightning bolts, and with that, yeah, the game is over. Yeah, I wonder if there was a sequence of draws that could win the game for David in this spot now. I mean, Tabernacle doesn't solve anything. So with that, I think there are no outs. Rishad Poe doesn't do anything either. It only allows for more damage on the press to progress. Okay, with Rishad Poe discarded in the Mox Diamond, it doesn't matter. Playing another Ponder, getting rid of something extra. I think this should be a shuffle. Okay, I mean, it doesn't really matter at this spot. Yeah, the surgical get ponder. And then you shot surgical something. It doesn't really matter. Get your opponent down to 7. Have another 4 damage burn spell in your hand. Ah, 2 damage burn spell in your hand. And yeah, let's see how David handles it. When price to progress now does nothing. But yeah. He also got 1 life now. But yeah. Doesn't really matter. Yeah, at least the price of progress now does more than 0. Yeah. And then we say Delva. Yeah. Unfortunately, no triggers or resolved triggers on the side of the Arcanist. That's the problem if you have 2 in play. It really changes it. Because you are... I mean, the first Dreaded Arcanist is great. I mean, the second one is okay, and the third one is just bad, I would say. Yeah, the second Delver got Pyroblasted. But yeah. I think David is just waiting for the end. I think it just passed the turn and... Yeah, and we have the win condition. So this game goes 2-1 to the side of Christoph Igelsböck. 2-1 Christoph Igelsböck. And now we can move up to game number 3 of the 4th day or the 4th event of the season 6 of the Austrian Legacy League. So we can move up a little bit. And here we have another match started. And this is Andreas Leopolds Ida on Esper Vial against Manuel Hochecker on Rakdelva. We will start turn 1, I think. Yeah. Andreas Leopolds Ida we saw, I think, last week. Here he was playing his ANT deck. And fun fact, and just top 8 the recent Legacy showcase. Which means that, yeah, it's at least some of the players are playing it. And we have a good start on the side of Andreas in the form of Island Aether Vial, which will get Force of Negation, Pitch Oko, which should be an okay deal on the side of Andy. You could try to force through it, but yeah, it could go wrong. Especially if your opponent... I mean, you know that your opponent isn't having a daze here because Manuel would just daze the Aether Vial. But yeah, you have to get rid of the Dreaded Arcanist this spot now. I think the Arcanist is a little bit too hard to deal for Andy if it resolves. And I think this will say Oko. Yeah. So we have now a Meddling Mage on Oko 5 of Crowns, I think. You have specified on Modo a little bit more, but this is definitely okay. So we have a lightning bolt here. But the question is now if Manuel has the Oko. In his hand. So this is a marsh flats. For some reason I thought this is a wasteland, but yeah, the expedition land's a little bit complicated to see, I have to admit. Yeah, Baleful Strix, and the Valley Chain begins. Not being fetched. At least he bails out of an Oko for at least a turn. Yeah. Unfortunately, no land on the side of Andy, because the Palace Jailer would be a little bit brutal. But yeah, here's the land, so you can slam it. And maybe end of turn Brainstorm, or even this turn Brainstorm if he really wants to. Or does he want to play the, I think, a Meddling Mage, if I remember correctly. Ah, not the Meddling Mage, the Charming Prince, which will draw him another card. Yeah. Okay, the Delva flips. Unfortunately, we do not get to enjoy the drawn card. Announcing the block in response to Brainstorm. Always a good play. I'm just talking about how good of a mech player he is. But yeah, the position he's in is really, really good. But we have to see how it goes. At least the board state is now a little bit difficult for Manuel. He needs a Dreaded Arcanist. But the problem with the Arcanist is that you have troubles fighting through the fighting through the board state of Andy. With double Baleful Strix, you are in a really, really, really good spot. But yeah, it's definitely difficult for him. Searching and searching for another threat or a board clear. And now if Andy is allowed to resolve his 4-drop, it will be really, really hard. And I think you just play out the land and then play a Palace Jailer. Yeah. And if the Palace Jailer resolves, if it doesn't get forced, yeah, you have to force the card. As bad as it is, you have to force the card. And this means that the top decks of Manuel are way worse now. I think you get in for free. And now the board state is really, really bad for Manuel. I think this is a ponder. Okay, Hooting Mandrills. The Mandrills are okay. But Andy has a few outs for it. He has 2 Brainstorm in his hand, which are great too. Is this a Marsh Flats or another Wasteland? I do not know. I think another Wasteland. Yeah, it's another Wasteland. And then we have the Baron for next turn to bounce the Hooting Mandrills. And with that, should be bad for Manuel. I think play the Baron, bounce the Mandrills. Something in that lines. Or if you really, really want to value, you can play Baron bouncing on Baleful Strix. But unfortunately, he's not able to. He's not able to replay it on the same turn. The problem I think you have to play the Baron, bounce the Hooting Mandrills. I mean, you can be greedy and try to find another blue source, which is not able to do so. But he found Swords Plowshares, which is equally great. Yeah. Going up to 17 and maybe another Swords. Okay, no. Yeah, just getting in for 3. Doesn't matter. Okay, at least the second land now for Mantle. The question is now if he wants to drop the Baron just to generate a little bit more pressure, or if he wants to wait for it. I think the Venser doesn't make any sense. Or it makes a little bit of sense. There's another Marsh Flats. Yeah. But now with another Swords of Plowshares in hand, it's a good spot for Andy. Just slowly dwindle your opponent down is great. But yeah, it's good to see a non-Oko deck winning against an Oko deck. But the problem was most likely that Manuel was not drawing any Oko. Okay, we at least got the bolt here. I think you just play. I mean, you could play Windsor bouncing your own creature, which would draw another card. Okay. Okay. So now we see the value line in Baron bouncing your own creature. But Andy still has the remove spell in hand, still has the Venser in hand. So he doesn't feel like he's in trouble, which I definitely agree. Because his board is still bigger than Manuel's. And yeah. The Teferi would be really, really good now. That's something that is attackable on the side of Andy, and it's the mana base. Now we have a Force Pitcher Force, and now Manuel is again empty-handed. Now we get in for another 3. And yeah. Pass the turn. But the Alchemist doesn't even matter, because you still have the swords, the plowshares in hand. And yeah. Or you can Venser bounce it or something like that, so there isn't something that you get in trouble with. And then you have the Venser Caracas loop, which allows you to bounce something every single turn. Let's see what he bounces. Okay, get the Charming Prince. Charming Prince, what does he do? Bouncing the Venser? Could be. Yeah, bouncing the Venser. getting in for 4. Blocking the Baron, which is okay. Coming back, bouncing a land, and yeah, there's nothing really Manuel can do. And this is a really slow bleeding. I think it was 5, 6, or maybe 7 turns ago. There, it was crystal clear that, that Andy would win this match, but yeah, the clock on the side of Esper Vial is really slow. But yeah, he came through and won the game. I will speed up the sideboarding a little bit. But what are the cards that are considered? I think we have a Lavina that can be boarded in. Just a second. Lavina, I think. Lavina, eliminate to path to exile. Lavina, eliminate path to exile. Kinda agree with it. A lot of removal against it, but at least one of the removals eliminated also hits the Oko, which is really important in my eyes. And not only my eyes, also the eyes of multiple big faces of the format. There's just a problem that it's, how to say it, it's hard to deal with planeswalkers because the counter to planeswalkers are creatures, and planeswalkers are nowadays a little bit designed to combat creatures on the field. And yeah, the problem is that planeswalkers in the original design space are bad because they, how to say it, because they die to something natural. And if the counter to a planeswalker are the creatures on the field, which could be easily, it's a little bit problematic. So for now we have a little bit of sideboarding going on. I kind of disagree with boning out a Vial against Delva, because the Vial is literally the best card, especially if your mana base can be destroyed easily with Wastelands, which is possible against Esper Vial as a Rock Delva player. So I think you have to stay the 4th Vial in the game. But yeah, I see the point of putting it out, but no, I don't see the point of putting it out. I think you need it in most matchups because it allows you to go fast over the top of your opponent, which is for most matchups relevant, especially if it's a mid-range matchup such as, I mean, Rock Delva is mostly a tempo matchup, but sometimes the games go to the mid to late game, and there it's a little bit more problematic on the side of Esper Vial. And against Rock Delva, you don't want to stay too far behind, and if you are behind, you want to compensate this quickly, and for that you need a lot of mana, and this isn't really possible against Rock Delva because most likely you get wastelanded at least once, and to do the big value change you need 5 mana a turn, 6 mana a turn or something like that, and you most of the time you are only doing that with an Ether Vial in play, because you have an Ether Vial upticked at 2 or something like that, and it allows you to do some crazy shenanigans. Something like turn 2 play Baleful Strix, turn 3 play Baron, bounce on Baleful Strix after detect, and then Ether Vial in the Baleful Strix, draw a card from the Baron, draw a card from the Baleful Strix, and with that you have generated a lot of card advantage. Seems like I keep on the side of Andy, and the turn 1 Delva on the side of Manuel, which is, I mean, the best start he can have. let's see if Andy goes for the turn 1 Wasteland plan, or he goes for turn 1 basic. Okay, he goes for the turn 1 Wasteland, and yeah. Let's see if Manuel has another land. And he does. And with that, it's a little bit worse to just wasteland the land on this against Delva, because you want to do something too, because you want to stop the bleeding really early. And yeah, let's see how Andy does it. I had not thought that the swords would resolve here. And with a Dreaded Arcanist in play, I definitely agree on not fighting the sword here and try to find a sword against the Arcanist now. At least Andy has the Plague Engineer in hand, which will allow him to shut down the Arcanist, because if the Arcanist's power is 0, he is not able to flashback any cantrips. And yeah, I think we will see that most likely next turn. Let's see what the Arcanist does. Draws 1 card, is a Brainstorm. And let's see if he finds something that Andy has to fight against. Or, yeah. At the Clovis is one of the cards you have to fight against. And Andy kind of disagrees here. I think you have to brainstorm into a Force of Will or something like that. Because the Clovis is just too hard to deal. And it says you now have 8 to 9 turns, and after that you lose the game. Which is not that great for Andy. Because as I said previously, Esper Vial has a really slow clock. And now we have the Black Engineer on Wizard, which shuts down both Delva and Dreaded Arcanist, which is important now. But yeah, the spot is really complicated now, because you need to answer the Clovis in a way. But most likely the best answer against Clovis, yeah, I would like to say that the game is over now. I don't see a point in coming back against Oko Clovis on board with a Dreaded Arcanist. Yeah. Because meddling mages do not matter now. Okay, Flicker Whips do nothing. Charming Prince Cry 2. Put the 2 cards away that you brainstormed on top, which is a good value plan, but now you are in a bad spot. I think you have to swing at the Oko. And if you swing at the Oko, it's just not good, because you're now under big pressure from Clovis. It doesn't really matter what you do, because you will generate, because you have to find for the game against the Oko, you will generate new cards into the graveyard, and with that yeah, the Clovis will be empowered to stay around longer, and with that he will finish out the game if the Oku isn't able to do this himself. So yeah, we have another card draw spell chained together. Let's see what Manuel is searching for, but we have the lightning bolt to get rid of the black engineer. Then we bolt charming prince, get in for 4, and now we win the game, most likely on next or the following turn. Yeah, maybe he can draw a Delver, which would empower his next turn, because he will be bigger to get in for next turn. But I think he has blue card of also fill in. Okay, he has at least the Hooting Mandrels in hand, which would just make the clock better for next turn. Not bigger, because you win most likely on next turn, but just better to be going more broad against Esper, because for now he will, or he can generate a few small blockers, but the problem, even a Peacekeeper or something like that won't win the game, because the Oku just exit and you get in with everything. And with that we will see another grindy game 3, most likely. In the end, this spot most likely it doesn't matter what Andy does, but you have to fight for something. And yeah, even though he may have a Baleful Strix now in hand, it doesn't really matter, because there's only one blocker on the side of Andy. If he has a remove spell, Andy's dead. If he has not, Manuel has to find something to win on this turn. But yeah, if Manuel just elks the Dreaded Arcanist, it's fine. You don't want to cast anything, just elk the Arcanist. And at least finds the bolt here, and then he can just bolt on the, and then at least this match is over. And yeah, the games are really, really long in Esper Vial against Rakdelver, because it's just a mid-range grind fest. And yeah, I think you just bolt him. I mean, he can have a Force of Will, but I think this is a double bolt, Chain Lightning, Force of Will, and now you bolt again. Yeah, getting another token, and just another card is not enough. Another thing interesting, most likely for you, for next week, we are I have to say that it's not completely sure that I will be streaming on Monday. If you are listening to the In Response, a Legacy podcast, you've most likely heard in the end that we were announcing a In Response TriCast on next Tuesday, next week, the 13th. But the problem is that there is not the convention, a reunion at my university where I have to go to, and unfortunately this is on Tuesday, so we maybe have to reschedule it so that we come together on another day, or we postpone it to a week later or something like that. Maybe tomorrow Monday is the stream, or it's on Wednesday or something else. We have to schedule it together with my fellow co-hosts Daniel and Philip, and yeah, unfortunately we couldn't get together something that's completely sure for a schedule for you guys if you're listening today. But yeah, next week is not completely sure, so feel free to ask. And I think this hand is okay on the side of Andy. Yeah, and he keeps it 3 removal spells. Okay. And Dual Lands Ponder is a great opening for Andy to see, because it means that Manuel is running a little bit slower. Maybe he has 2 lands in hand, 2 lands in on field and hand together, and he can wasteland him out, which he will most likely try next turn. The only thing that could change it is a Baleful Strix drawn or something like that. But we see what he has drawn for this turn. Yeah. But we just see the wasteland. And I think this is another Swords of Plowshares. Okay. So we have land into spell or land into Delver. This, okay, land to nothing is great for Andy. We get another Fetton. This will be most likely a Delver, which will eat, oh, a Dread Arcanist. That's fine too. Okay, he drew a Soul Herder, not a Dread Arcanist. The question now for Andy is now to slam a Plague Engineer. Okay, he goes for the double fetch. And I do not want to see a eliminate here. I really want to see a Path to Exile here. And yeah. And he does it. The problem is not, I was not thinking about this, because to eliminate, the problem is that you need to have an answer to Oko in this matchup. And eliminate is one of the few answers against Oko. So maybe Esper has to move up the numbers of eliminates in the sideboard, because you need answers. Because the bug versions of some decks are already running more of them. But yeah, I think you have to try to resolve the Plague Engineer. You will say Wizard if it resolves, because it means that you have now, I think, 6 or 7 dead draws on the side of Manuel, and he just drew his Delve of Secrets. And yeah, the interesting thing is now if Manuel is slamming an Oko here, because I haven't seen anything in his hand, but an Oko here could be good. I mean, we know that yeah, I think you have to live with it. I think you have to let him do something. I think you play Marshlands and then play Tutor. Just does way too much for your game plan. But I think Manuel still has 4 cards in hand, those 3 cards in hand. So that's a lot to fight through. Okay, searching up a palace jail. So yeah, we will see what Manuel is doing on his turn. There is the question now if you even want to block with the recruit of the guard, because you have the Soul Herd in hand, which would allow you to generate a lot of card advantage with the recruiter. But yeah, there's the Oko. And most likely, yeah, pitch Soul Herd, because it's the card that does the least. And yeah, here we most likely see a Palace Jailer resolving, or it will get force fulfilled. Could be 2. Yeah. And now with Andy having the Monarch, it will be very, very hard for Manuel to come back, because you need to generate a lot of bodies now all time. You need to fight through the card advantage the Monarch token provides, and you need to make combat damage to Andy. And your best way to do combat damage are elks. And unfortunately, you have no leftovers running around like a food token or another thing. And with that, yeah, the eliminate just eliminates any chances of Oko generating a threat. And for next turn, most likely Andy is able to hold up the eliminate mana, and maybe even have the counter up in Forceful, pitching another blue card or something like that, which would be, yeah, good. But the one thing that Andy needs to draw is, how to say it, a big threat in kind of closing out the game. Something like, yeah, the Soul Herder would be good, because he generates a +1/+1 token every single turn. And yeah, this turn will be difficult now, but there is the Path to Exile drawn. And here we need something to get rid of the Dreaded Arcanist, but maybe we get to see the eliminate. Yeah. Even though Oko can still win the game, you need to get rid of the Dreaded Arcanist. The Arcanist is just a way too good card. And this is the card on the side of Manuel that draws him the cards. And yeah, if Andy just drew a blue card, there is nothing. Okay, it was a land, but still okay. I think you just play the land. Oh, okay, even play Meddling Mage. Name Oko, because that's the card that is the hardest to deal with. Okay, and yeah, we see the Metal Mage on Bolt. But we see their Braid. Okay, a lot of burn going into some creatures. The Delva still is not returning, because the Delva is returning when the Monarch token changes to manual. And that changes when he has some threats for himself. That will be hard. And now if this happens, it's way harder as expected. Yeah, and I think then you go fetch land, fetch, play another Baleful Strix, attack for another one, establish the lock, even though it isn't that fast, but I think we are nearing time now. So yeah. It would be hard, definitely. But with 3 creatures on the board, it's good, even though Oko may or may not resolve. It may resolve. But what does the Oko do? Oko generates now a food token. And yeah, Venza bouncing the food token next turn would be great. And most likely this will happen. And at best this would happen. Okay. Okay, yeah, the Teferi now is great. The one card that can fuck up Andy the most would be a Red Elemental Blast. Fortunately, not able to hardcast the Force of Will in his head manual, and yeah. Yeah. Then you play the Teferi. The question is if you even care about Oko now. Yeah, and he does. Getting rid of it. Getting in for one more. I think you bounce a Baleful Strix now. And recast the Baleful Strix. And then you draw a card end of turn because you are the Monarch. And then game goes on. Okay, and even forgot to do that, but yeah. He generated this turn so much value that it's not a concern for him. Yeah, and for now it's just riding it home to victory. Playing another land, playing another Strix, drawing another card. Yeah. You put this again on Oko or on Bolt. Okay. On Bolt you get in for another 5. Play a land. Okay, he doesn't even play a land. And Manuel just concede. That means we got through game number 3 of the 4th day, or the 4th event of the season 6 of the Austrian Legacy League. And yeah, just make a few looks at the sideboarding. We saw an Abrade, a Clothis, a Silver Library, and how's it called? It was playable in Modern for a long time, so it should be still played in Modern Dredge. Just look it up. And we saw 2 swords, 1 Lavina, and what was the other card? Don't remember the last one. 4. Okay. Eliminate Lavina to path to exile for Baron, Peacekeeper, Ether Vial, and Recruiter of the Guard. Then we look up Modern. And there we have Dredge. Is Dredge still a deck in Modern? Or was this banned out? And Ancient Grudge was the card I was searching for. So we go now up to game number 4. And there we see a match of Abzan Maverick against 4-color Omnath. There we have our mainstay. Of the feature table, Christian Münster now on another deck other than Food Bane, and we have had an opening of Land Noble Hierarch on side of Stefan Otte, and 2 lands on side of Christian Münster. And he's playing a Scavenging Ooze. And let's see what Otte is able to do. He's playing an Elvish Reclaimer. With the Gas Cradle in hand, has 3 men available. Let's see what he does with it. Okay, playing a Caracas. And passing the turn back. Doesn't want to run out his Chaos Cradle. So we see the Teferi here. Most likely will bounce the Noble Hierarch because you want to get rid of the mana. I think so. Okay. Doesn't even bounce anything now. So we will see what will happen now. The Chaos Cradle makes 2 mana. Okay. We see Thalia. So the Chaos Cradle does make 3. The Caracas does make 1, which would mean a Green Sunzini for 2. If he wants to. Because it costs 1 more because of the failure. But it doesn't do anything. So at least you have the protection tool for the failure. But I think against this 4-color Omnath shell it doesn't really change anything. Because if Christian is able to resolve the Clophis now, he's in a really good spot now. Yeah. Activating the Elvish Reclaimer. Getting rid of the base. Or does he get rid of the basic? Maybe he gets rid of the Caracas. Would make sense too. Because with an opposing Caracas on the field, it could be worse. But I think you need your own Caracas against the Omnath. Because you need to be able to fight through it. And yeah. Then we see a freshly drawn Icefang Portal on the side of Christian, but it should be most likely in Resolve Clophis now. I think you just go for the Volcanic, solve the Clophis, but it seems that Christian thinks different. I mean, if you fetch for a Volcanic, you have the Clophis out, you still have the swords to Plowshares in hand and have force protection. What do you even want? I think that it would have made perfect sense to play your whole hand out. That's 3 mana, that's 4 mana. Then you fetch that you can search up your Reliquary Knight. Knight of the Reliquary. Most likely. Because if you force a fill here, it is negative speed or negative tempo because you just didn't use your full 4 mana that you had available the whole turn. Yeah. I mean, you wouldn't be able to cast the Swords of Plowshares. That's true, and maybe because of that he. Okay, you still had Caracas out to the failure, so why not just slam it? And I still think that it would have been correct to cast the Colossus on last turn. Because it just does way too many things now. Yeah. The cards drawn are bad, but put back 2 lands. Slam a Colossus. Fetch, slam a Colossus. What could go wrong? I mean, the one thing that can happen if Stefan has an fetch land, he is able to grow the Elvish Reclaimer to get rid of the Teferi. But yeah, that's everything. And I think he still has a land drop left to replay to play the Swords of Plowshares in his hand. But he has to do it with the Vial on the stack, which should be most likely okay, I would say. Because you want to keep the Teferi around. And then you have still the Caracas as an out against the Failure, if you want to use more mana. So yeah. I think this is a misplay, because you want to tap your mana not in that way, but yeah. It's okay. Could be that I'm wrong, but he had this 4 lands out last turn, so it would have made sense to play differently and still have the Swords of Plowshares available. Okay. He's looking for an opportunity only once upon a time. So, yeah. We will see what Stefan is getting. And Stefan is the winner of the first trial and the second trial of the Austrian Legacy League, or as it was better known previously under the name Linzer Legacy Liga, which is the German name for the Legacy League of Linz. And yeah, as you may see, this is also the old playmats we just reprinted recently. I think it's now 2 months ago since we reprinted from the Linzer Legacy League to the Austrian Legacy League. And yeah, for the future, the playmats will change. And yeah. Now, changed the decision on the side of Stefan. He got now a Knight of the Reliquary instead of the previously chosen Hex Drinker. And yeah, we maybe see Clovis doing work now. One thing that Christian can do is getting rid of lands. which would mean that Stefan isn't getting the pseudo threshold for the Elvish Reclaimer. But yeah, the problem is if that is the right play, because you want to stabilize the board a little bit, and yeah, the Clothis can help you with that. And yeah, not the Teferi in any kind. Yeah, Christian even forgot to uppick the Teferi, but Stefan said, yeah, do it. I want to play against a good opponent. Yeah, this spot now is beautifully for Maverick. You now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mana tapped, 4 mana tapped. I think you just want to slam another noble, and then the Knight of the Reliquary. Okay, you still have 1 mana floating, 1 green floating. With that you cast another Noble Hierarch. The problem is now that you can't attack with the Elvish Reclaimer because the Reclaimer isn't big. Okay. Christian still has the swords in hand. Yeah, the birds are kind of awkward now because they do nothing. And it's really interesting to see because I don't know if Christian top decked or net decked his deck, but Christian is that kind of guy who always plays creature heavy decks who rely on something like a Birds of Paradise or something like that. So it's pretty cool to see him play various different decks, and most of the time he's playing an early game mana shenanigans with Birds of Paradise or similarly creatures. And yeah, he kinda does that today too. And I'm thinking, for 3 mana, what does he do? Okay, Black Engineer, which will most likely say bird, which gets rid of the blocker, and then you just attack for 4 with the failure. Okay, you take for 1 here and for 2 at Christian, but yeah, the failure will get bounced around, which is okay because it doesn't do anything anyway. Yeah. Yeah. Let's see what Christian does now with the Clothis. Okay, gets rid of a green Sun Zenith. But the clock isn't really here against Stefan. Stefan gets ahead on board. He will get in 4 this turn. With the Plague Engineer, he will make bigger beats. He has still 2 mana floating. There is the Knight of the Reliquary. Yeah. And he is able to even cast it. Yeah. No mana floating, still has 3 lands left, and a Noble Hierarch to tap for. And yeah, most likely he will get in with the Black Engineer and just pass the turn. Or he gets in with everything, but the most consistent damage would be just attacking with 1 Black Engineer. Because with 1 Black Engineer you get in for 4, and with this you get only in for 2. Okay, he gets in for 4, which is okay. Was there a reason that Christian wasn't countering the Knight of the Reliquary? Unfortunately, it's a little bit too shiny on the sleeves of Christian, so that I'm not able to see the top left to land. But yeah, the Elvish Reclaimer searches for something. Gets the Wasteland. Okay, it's volcanic island, so he should have been able to just counter the Knight of the Reliquary, if I remember correctly last turn, but doesn't change anything here now with the new information. Gets the Wasteland. Searches for another Wasteland. Gets rid of the volcanic island. And maybe even get another Wasteland with Elvish Reclaim. Or he gets in for big distance. Could be two. Okay. Now gets in for 5. With that, Otter has a big lead this game. Yeah. Is even able to cast a failure. Yeah. And a scoop on the side of Christian now. We can move up. We see our two competitor sideboard. What is the card for? Okay, Knight of Autumn will be boarded in. Into Veil of Summers because there was an abrupt decay on the side of Maverick. Unfortunately, I'm not able to see the cards sideboarded for Stefan. Because we want that our feature match players feel comfortable sideboarding to not show the cards to their opponent, because some players even make the full 15 when they board in all 50 cards into the deck and then put them out one at a time, because then you are playing the 60 cards that you really want, because you board out the 15 cards that you don't want to play. Yeah. And with the sideboard action gone, I think we move up to after the shuffling process. The players are making the life totals equal to 20 again, and then we see game number 2 of Stefan Otte against Christian Münster, which is the 4th match of the day and will be the last match I will be streamed today. As I said previously, the stream for next week can most likely will be on another day, not Monday, but there will be an announcement coming on of social media. As we said in our podcast, In Response to the Legacy podcast, that we will be making a TriCast where Daniel Philip will join me on stream, where we will prepare something. This will be not this setting we have today. This will be something bigger. There will be something like you maybe know from League of Legends Worlds or something like that, where we will have a desk or something like that. So it will look way more professional like today. And yeah, we will have surely a lot of fun. And yeah, let's resume with the game of Christian Münster for Column against Stefan Otte on Abzan Maverick. Stefan Otte is just resolving his Once Upon a Time, and Christian Münster was able to resolve a Green Sun Zenith X0, which means he gets a Dried Arbor out of the deck. Yeah, Otter gets the Wasteland and passes the turn. Gets the Wasteland, Wastelands the non-basic, and yeah, resumes with the game. Most likely we'll see land Mandork or something like that, but unfortunately no acceleration on the side of Stefan, which is really bad, because the acceleration on 1 is just that much better than the acceleration on 2, because you need 3 drops, and he even has the Knight of the Reliquary in hand. So your second turn is most likely not that great now, and yeah, we will definitely see how it goes. I think I saw an abrupt decay, so he has an answer for turn 2, but an answer for turn 2 is way worse than threat on turn 2. Okay, another green sun scene for Christian. And starts the Plowshares. You maybe can green Sansini for X1 just to get a Bird of Paradise, which could be okay too. But he just placed the bird. Made it. It would have been just an expensive bird if you green Sansini for a bird, because you want to green Sansini for the Omnath on next turn, if able, or do something similarly good. Maybe you want to even green Sansini for whatever, an Uru. Then we see a Force pitch the Brainstorm. Then we maybe see an Enchantress resolve. Yeah. And now not we, but Stefan has the problem, because, as I said previously, he has no answers to the Cluffis. I think the only answer he maybe has is a Counter Judgment, but I do not think that Abzan Maverick is running it. So he fetches out the Savannah. And let's see what he does with his mana. I mean, playing the Knight, but yeah. Will be interesting for next turn, but most likely not, because yeah, Otter won't have his Knight of the Reliquary now. He will gain 4 up to 19. But yeah, Christian gets in for another 1 to Dried Arbor and passes the turn, because there is nothing he can do more against him. Yeah, the problem for now is that Stefan has no real answer to Cluffis. And with that, you need to either run discard or counter spells against it, or you lose the long game. So you have to try to find your own Cluffis, but in Abzan colors there is no Cluffis available. So you have to try to find something. And yeah, let's see if Frasca is the thing you are searching for. Okay, we see an uptick on Frasca. I think Frasca is able to gain at least 1 life a turn, which is better than nothing. I think this is where you have to sack a land and draw a card or something like that. And here we see an green sand scene for X3, which means we will see a Knight of the Reliquary. Oh, It's an X5. Because he exiled the land with the Clofis. I see. Yeah, it's just so much value that you are able to draw a card when Omnath enters the battlefield. Okay. But yeah, this will be really, really hard now. So let's see what he does. I think there isn't really anything you can do, but you have to try something. The problem in these cases is always, what are you gonna try? Because it's just, yeah, it's hard. And okay, so he gets rid of the birds to paradise, but what does it change? Because the single most thing that Christian is searching for are lands. Got rid of another land. Is able to play an Uro. Is able to draw a card. Play it. And it is even a fetch land, which allows him to deal damage again. And yeah, if he fetches this turn, he even gets rid of Frasca completely, which is insane value. Okay, let's see where he attacks. Okay, he attacks Frasca, and yeah, I think you have to fetch in it, but because the life doesn't matter, you. And I think it would have been correct to fetch on the previous main phase, just to get rid of the Frasca, that you don't have to attack it. And yeah. Oh, I see. There was only one land drop and the fetch drop. So there was only the second land drop, which meant that he was only able to generate the 4-mana for Felidar Retreat. And the damage mode from his passive was not possible. But we are now in a really dire spot now for Stefan. With Felidar Retreat and Omnath on board, every card is gas. You have the Clofis on board, which allows you to get your life total high enough that you can survive a few attacks, and your opponent's life total low enough that a few attacks will win the game. So yeah, we will have to see how it goes. So he's generating 4 mana. We'll see what he does. He's playing a Great Sun Zenith X2. X3, okay, correct now. X4? What 4 drop is in his deck? There's no Omnath. What is there? Okay, he gets the Knight of Autumn to get rid of at least the Felidar Retreat, but yeah. I think there is nothing he can do again. He's almost completely dead to the Omnath. So yeah. Just playing lands, getting life, doing something, playing maybe something. Yeah, getting back the Uro. And there you have one of the single best board states you can have. The only thing missing from recent sets is the Oko. The question here is now if you even want to play the Caracas, which would allow you to gain a lot of mana, but you can't really use the mana, so you just get in for another 4 with the Omnath. Just enjoy it while it lasts. I mean, I don't think that Omnath will be even oppressive in Legacy or something like that. It's just that, how to say it, landfall with fetch lands is really, really hard to balance. And yeah, as far as it in standard, it's already running Rampage. But yeah, we will have to see it how it does in Legacy. Then we now have another Kaya on the side of Stefan. Let's see what it does. At least it can get life, but with Christian getting rid of all his creatures, he negated the life in mode for the Kaya. And it's completely correct to do that, because you want to get rid of you don't want to get rid of the lands because it empowers your Knight of the Reliquary. Yeah. The question now is if you play the land and then attack, because then it is no land, so it doesn't matter. But now you have Hardcast Force fill up. You can get in for another 11, which will be most likely blocked on the side of Otter. You get another 3 life, and then it will be jump blocked on the side of Otter. And he will get in for another 4 down to 7. And yeah, pass the turn, Force of Will the next threat. Which, if it is not failure, can be countered. I think you have to counter this one because it can get out of hand. And yeah, just play the Force of Will. Nothing can happen. Here you see the failure now. Yeah. Or even another card. But yeah, I don't think that in this spot it can matter. Yeah, here we see the Abrupt Decay on the Uro. The Kai will exile it, which means 2 life for Stefan, which means more ability to go through. Then we see another Thalia. But we will see the Clovis gaining back some life, draining Stefan down to 7. Is this a Plague Engineer? I do not see it correctly. Hello Krisu, welcome to the chat. I think it's the first time that you are here, if I remember correctly. Or maybe you were here as a silent viewer. Are you back to work now? Okay, then we see a Raman-up Excavator getting the landfall triggers to work. Hey, you sometimes look, yeah. I hope you enjoy this. Maybe you even view it on Fridays. If you have no time to visit us in Linz. But yeah, this. sports that is some hella fun. I mean, at least both players are drawing something good. Chris, I have to admit, the Omnath deck is not non-blue. It's playing Brainstorm, it's playing Force of Will, but it's both greens and Zenith decks against each other, which is fine, I would say. And both of these decks win with the board. Okay. With Caracas as a clean answer now to the questing beast, we need something to fight through it. Yeah, I really like the Münster piles because with so much mana acceleration, it's really, really fine. Yeah, if it would have been a Geno pile, you would have had more top end, I would say, and have some kind of a combo finish. But here we see Christian winning the second. Christian winning the second match. So we have now, if I remember correctly, 1-1. And yeah, we see another game of these two players against each other. Stefan has now more of an idea against what he's playing, and yeah, will be definitely an interesting game number 3 now. So we have some shuffling actions, and yeah, both players up to 20 life, and Stefan Otte on the play. Okay, unfortunately no mana acceleration for Stefan again, but another Green Sun Zenith X0 on the side of Christian. DVC on turn 2 on the side of Stefan now. Both players playing a little bit faster now, with time coming near and them hoping to not get into extra turns. I think we see here and Knight of the Reliquary on the side of Christian, or even even the Oko. That's bad. But if I remember correctly, there was an Abrupt Decay in the hand of Stefan, which will get rid of it. Yeah, Abrupt Decay on the Oko, so only a full token remained, which is good. That's nice, you know. Have you won round number 3 against him? Okay, we see now a Plague Engineer on Dryad, which got rid of the Dryad Arbor. And let's see what we see here now. Do we see a Knight of the Reliquary, and Teferi, an Uro? There's so much you can do. I think the question is if you slam the Hexstring and level it up, if it would have been better. But Kaya is okay. Yeah, you have to slam the Hexstring here because you want to allow yourself the ability to outgrow anything that can come here. Yeah, I think Otto is again on a train where he plays some decks he enjoyed for a long time. He really enjoyed how is it called, the deck Sylvan Plug or something like that, and Abzan Maverick is similarly to that. And yeah, I do not know correctly. As far as he told us, he is only playing 2 decks right now because he is, I think, shifting places with his wife, so he has not have the time to build a new deck every single time. And I think he just enjoys the playstyle. And Maverick even won the last challenge on Saturday. And I think it's a similarly list to this. I think he's off that for now because, as I said already, because he is moving, and so moving out and moving in, and with that he's not really able to do that, to build a new deck every week. Okay, so we have now a Plague Engineer on, it would have been human, I think so. So I think we now get rid of the Gaia, which is a little bit unfortunate for Christian. Okay. A little bit frustration on the side for our competitors. Okay. Okay, I think we are now in the first extra turn. Could be, should be. So these two will just waste each other out and try to not lose in these few turns. Yeah. Because there is unfortunately nothing you can do on the side of. I mean, there is a possibility that Christian can win in 3 turns, but I think Stefan cannot lose in, or cannot win in these 2 turns now. Get rid of his own Hexdrinker. Can play another Knight of the Reliquary. Gets rid of a few lands. Depowers the run-up Excavator. Depowers the Knight of the Reliquary. Can play his own Knight of the Reliquary, which will most likely get bounced with the Fair Time Traveler. But yeah, I don't think that the clock is big enough on the side of Christian to win the game now. We're now in the 3rd extra turn. Yeah. And yeah, I really have to see how this 4-color Omnath deck will play out in the future, because I don't think that it is that great, I have to admit. Because yeah, it has a few problems, I would say. There is there's the problem that you are taking a little bit too fair, and that you want to flood out in a control shell or something like that. Because if you play that much acceleration, you will flood out, and that's true. And you need that in the kind of shell. But the amounts that Christian flooded out in this match maybe suggests that you want to run more Omnath. But more Omnaths will mean less acceleration, and with that it's just not that great of a shell, I think. And yeah, 5th extra turn, nobody can win this. And yeah, which means we have 1-1-1 in today's 4th game. I can spoil you a little bit. These guys were not playing the final of this day. The final was between 2 different players, and the final was won by Chino. He is currently in the chat, and he won this FNM with elves, if I remember correctly. I mean, most of the time he's playing elves. The only times he is not playing elves is when he wants to not win, and then he's playing mono blue Delta. Am I right, Chino? So yeah, this will finish today's episode of recasting the Austrian Legacy League. So for any of you guys who want to follow me, you can follow me on Twitter on /unicornlord. But the O in the Lord is a 0. You can click the link on the bottom on the info box on my Twitch channel. You can follow me and my podcast at In Response at multiple platforms, from Anchor to Spotify to Google Podcasts. There are a lot of platforms you can listen to our podcasts. We are on a 3-week schedule, so you will see, or you will hear from us every 3rd week. For next week, we have to reschedule something. There was planned a TriCast episode for the Season 65 event of the Austrian Legacy League, but we maybe have to reschedule it to another week, or have to reschedule it on another day. It was previously scheduled for the 13th of October, but unfortunately I have to do something at university on this day. And yeah, so that was it for me. If you want to know anything about me, you can hit me up on Twitter. And yeah, see you later. And In Response, the end.